Alright, back in Marty's garage. Well, just outside of Marty's garage. And we're trying to put that new starter in. It's about 5 or 6 days later since we pulled the starter. It's a pretty nice day here, Saturday. And so just getting the starter up in there was a little tricky. I'm still working on it. Gonna hook up the wires, but got one bolt in. There's a couple spacers that fit on top of the starter through those bolts. That was kind of tricky to get the bolt fed through, but we got the first one through, so we'll feed the other one through on the other side of that little spacers. But so got the heater going under there, carpet under there, keep off the wet ground. And got our light, so get back under there and finish hooking that starter up, see if the thing's going to start. Toyota Comanche 1986. So here's where we at. We got this bolt started, and up on the top there's couple spacers that this bolt has to fit through, so that was a little tricky to get this spacers on the top side. Not quite sure what it's for, but we're putting them back, and then we'll need to hook up the wires over here. So we'll turn the camera off and try to feed these two bolts up through there, through those spacers on the top side. So pretty good, nice and toasty under here with the heater. And see if we can get this thing hooked up. All right, now I just gotta put this stabilizer, whatever that is. Alright, we got the starter in, got the wires hooked up to the studs, got this brace tied back in, and we got the exhaust bracket here tied back in. So we're ready to hook the battery up and see if we fixed her. Hopefully. Cross our fingers. it's the moment of truth. See if the starter was actually the problem. So keep our fingers crossed and get in here and try to start her up. No go. Darn. All right. Let's check the battery, make sure it's powered up. All right, we got a wire connected down to the S post on the starter. And we're just going to see if we can start up the car by bypassing the ignition switch. So we're going to hit the positive right here. Runs like a top. Alrighty, it's the next day and back on the truck electrical problem, the Comanche. Feel like we're making progress. We're not only eliminating some possible issues with the electrical starting system, but we're learning along the way. So we're gonna get to it and show you where we're at right now as far as what we know and what we don't know. So let's open up the hood and take another look at things, try to get this thing running. We did get it running yesterday, but get it starting up with the key. But let's fire up the truck first with our little jump start system. We'll show you how that works, then we'll go from there. All right, so we replaced the battery, brand new battery. We replaced the starter relay right here. We replaced these relays here. And we replaced the starter down there. So I think the starter did actually need to be replaced because we tried jumping it. Maybe we weren't jumping it the right way, but it didn't seem to be jumping. But here's how we know now that this wire here, this green wire here, not to the positive lug, but this this green wire that comes off over here, that goes to the S post on the starter. So we got a clip on that post, and we're able to start the rig by sending power to the solenoid on the starter by doing this. So let's start up the rig. The key is on, and we'll fire it up here. The starter is good. This is the other thing we did last night, is we checked the fuses underneath the dashboard on the driver's side. I'll show you how we did that. We got this test light and have it hooked to the negative terminal on the battery, the ground, and then show you what. Took this test light inside, connected to the negative. And I'll go show you what we did to test the fuses. Fuse box is right down here. Basically, you just gotta touch the top of these fuses. Now, one thing you gotta do is have the ignition on for some of these fuses to be tested. And then with the ignition on, you test all the fuses, and you click on both sides of the fuse. Make sure the light is on both sides. And so we went through and tested all those fuses. And all those fuses up there are good. So it leaves us with two possible issues. And I found a wiring diagram that I'll show you here in a minute. But I see two possible problems. There could be the ignition switch, which is on the steering column. I saw on a YouTube channel. You gotta pull this lower dashboard off, and then to get to that ignition switch. The other thing it could be is the safety neutral switch, but we tried starting in both park and neutral, and it doesn't start. So I'm kind of thinking it's the ignition switch, but based on that wiring diagram, I'll show you there's a yellow wire that I think if we can get to, we can put power to that using our test light. Switch the wire to the positive terminal and see if putting this test light to that yellow wire, basically bypassing the ignition switch, sending power right to that yellow wire that sends the power out. See if that starts the car. If that starts the car, then we know it's the ignition switch. If that doesn't start the vehicle, it could be the safety neutral switch. And I'll put up that wiring diagram here, and in red is the two, with the arrows pointing to the two locations. We have in the diagram we have the ignition switch, could be the problem, or the other red arrow showing the safety neutral switch. That could be the problem as well. So first thing I think we'll do is get this garage cleaned up, and since we can start the truck, let's move the truck into the garage once we get things cleaned up and get out of this snowy cold. The other thing I want to do is get a creeper, because if we have to get under there and replace the safety neutral switch, I want to have a creeper to roll under the vehicle with and make things a little more comfortable. So enough of this cold weather stuff. Let's move the truck indoors. Right, before we move the vehicle, let's go ahead and test that ignition switch by moving this over to positive. And then I found that yellow wire that goes up to the ignition switch, I believe. So what we're going to do is take this wire, this test light, and poke it through that yellow wire there, which is the power feed. Let's turn the ignition on and poke to this yellow wire. We'll actually poke a little hole through there. Let's see if that starts. But I'm going to have to put the camera down to do it. So we'll see if it works. Right, I poked that yellow wire with this power light tester, and nothing happened. So it makes me think it's the neutral safety switch. Goodbye, old man winter. Warm garage. Sweet. All right, so I think we're going to run to O'Reilly's and get a safety neutral switch, whether it needs it or not. Not upset to be replacing old parts that will eventually need replaced anyways, so it's all good. Even if then, so we'll take this core starter back to O'Reilly's, $40 back on that, and we'll go get a safety neutral switch and throw it in, see if that works. Not really looking forward to tearing out the dashboard and all that to get to the ignition switch, but let's do the safety neutral switch underneath. Go get a creeper or roller, whatever it's called, dolly, whatever, at Home Depot, or we might go to Harbor Freight for that. Get some tools, get some parts, and we will be back.